Yeah, well, there's a lot of technical problems to solve. So I guess we sort of, studying kind of engineering and physics and biosciences and that kind of thing would be the way to go. Yeah. There are going to be a lot of problems to solve to make a city work on Mars. We were thinking of just as sort of a semi-joke, putting a job description on our website for urban planner in brackets Mars. There's going to be just a tremendous amount of problems to solve. There's just a lot of building and problem solving. So those are like the right, skills to work on if someone's interested in going beyond Earth or space in general.
The other thing I'd say is that if you're creating a company or if you're joining a company, the most important thing is to attract great people. So either join a group that's amazing that you really respect, or if you're building a company, you've got to gather great people. I mean, all a company is a group of people that have gathered together to create a product or service. And so depending upon how talented and hardworking that group is and the degree to which they are focused cohesively in a good direction, that will determine the success of the company. So do everything you can to gather great people if you're creating a company. Then I'd say focus on signal over noise. A lot of companies get confused. They spend money on things that don't actually make the product better. So, for example, at Tesla, we've never spent any money on advertising. We put all of the money into R&D and manufacturing and design to try to make the car as good as possible. I think that's the way to go. So for any given company, just can keep thinking about, are these efforts that people are expending, are they resulting in a better product or service? And if they're not, stop those efforts. And then the final thing is to sort of don't just follow the trend. So you may have heard me say that it's good to think in terms of the physics approach or first principles, which is, rather than reasoning by analogy, you boil things down to the most fundamental truths you can imagine, and you reason up from there. And this is a good way to figure out if something really makes sense, or if it's just what everybody else is doing. It's hard to think that way. You can't think that way about everything. It takes a lot of effort. But if you're trying to do something new, it's the best way to think. And that framework was developed by physicists to figure out counterintuitive things like quantum mechanics. So it's really a powerful method. Anyway, so that's, and then I think that the final thing I would encourage you to do is, now is the time to take risk. You don't have, you don't have kids, but as you get older, your obligations increase. So and once you have a family, you start taking risk not just for yourself, but for your family as well. It gets much harder to do things that might not work out. So now is the time to do that. Before you have those obligations. So I would encourage you to take risks now. Do something bold. You won't regret it.
I would advise people to have a high pain tolerance. I mean, maybe there are occasionally companies that get created where there's not an extended period of extreme pain, but I'm not aware of very many of such instances. But I do think that new great entrepreneurs are born every day. Yeah. And we'll continue to see amazing companies get built. But I would definitely advise people who are starting a company to expect a long period of quite high difficulty. But I mean, as long as people stay super focused on creating an absolute best product or service that really delights their end customer, like if they stay focused on that, then if you get it such that your customers want you to succeed, then you probably will. Make sure if your customers love you, your odds of success are dramatically higher.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity in general in electrification of transport. So, electric aircraft. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think in genetics, although that's sort of a thorny area, but I think that's in terms of solving some of the more intransigent diseases. Genetics are really key to solving those.
I mean, I think I think it would make far fewer mistakes. Obviously, if I could go, like, here's a list of all the dumb things you're about to do. Please do not do them. It'd be a very long list, and like, here, let me write it down or something. I mean, it's hindsight's 20/20, so it's hard to say. I mean, I've made so many foolish mistakes. I lost count, honestly. If the schedule is long, the design is wrong. We've overcomplicated the design many times, and I think we should have just gone with a simpler design. With the acid test being, how long will it take for this to fly? And if it's going to take a long time, don't do it. Do something else. Sometimes you should say no to things that you don't. Like the original Falcon 1 team, which did the fairing, tanks, engines, everything pretty much, was maybe a little over 100 people.
Okay.
And now SpaceX is like 6,000 people, I think, something like that. So really just simplify your product as much as possible. And then like if I think of some of the ways in which, how does a smart engineer make dumb mistakes, is optimize something that shouldn't exist. Don't optimize something that shouldn't exist. When people are trained to do this in college, you can't say no to the professor. The professor's going to give you the exam, and you've got to answer all the questions, or they will get angry. And give you a bad grade. So then you always optimize you always answer the question. A lot of the times you should say this is the wrong question. In fact, the question is definitely wrong to some degree, just how wrong. And I think just generally taking the approach that your design is some degree wrong, probably a lot more than you think. Your goal is to make it less wrong over time.